Emily Carter never imagined that one bank transfer would change her marriage forever. On a bright Sunday morning in Boston, her phone vibrated with a notification that confirmed what she had just done. She had paid off her husband's family debt. A crushing $150,000. She expected relief, maybe even pride. Instead, a quiet fear crept into her chest. The kind that appears when life is about to shift in ways no one can control. She stood alone in the kitchen, coffee untouched, watching sunlight slide across the counter. The house felt too quiet. Daniel wasn't home. He had been coming and going at odd hours for months. Always tired, always distracted. Emily used to ask questions. Lately, she had stopped convincing herself that marriage meant patience, not suspicion. 6 months earlier, Daniel had sat across from her at this same table, his hands shaking as he explained his family's situation. His father's medical bills had grown fast. His mother's small business had failed. Loans had stacked up. The house was days away from foreclosure. He hadn't asked her directly, but his fear filled the room. Emily had looked at the man she loved, the man she trusted, and said yes before doubt could speak. She earned more than Daniel. She had always been careful with money, she told herself. That love meant stepping forward when the other person fell back. That morning, though, the silence felt heavy. As if the walls themselves were holding secrets, the front door finally opened in the early afternoon. Daniel walked in slowly, his shoulders tight, his eyes tired. He didn't smile. He didn't joke. He didn't reach for her like he usually did. He just stood there, keys in hand, as if unsure whether to stay or leave. "Emily," he said, his voice low, "we need to talk." Those words hit her harder than she expected. She nodded and followed him into the living room. They sat across from each other, the space between them feeling wider than the room itself. Emily folded her hands in her lap. Her face stayed calm, but her heart raced. Daniel stared at the floor. The seconds stretched. Finally, he spoke. "I didn't plan this," he said. "I never wanted it to happen." Emily felt a chill move through her. "What happened?" she asked. He swallowed. "I've been seeing someone else." The world didn't crash. It didn't explode. It went quiet. Emily stared at him, searching his face for a sign that he was joking or confused or wrong. But his eyes were wet. His breathing was uneven. This was real. "How long?" she asked. Daniel hesitated. "Almost a year. A year." The word echoed in her head. A year of late nights. A year of canceled plans. A year of excuses she had chosen to believe. Emily thought about the mornings she drank coffee alone and the dinners that went cold on the table. She thought about the transfer she had made just hours earlier. "Does she know about me?" Emily asked. "Yes," Daniel said. "She does." "And your family?" Emily asked. "Do they know about her?" "No," he answered quickly. "They don't. They can't." Emily let out a short laugh that didn't sound like hers. "So I pay your family's debt, and then you tell me this." Tears rolled down Daniel's face. "I couldn't keep lying. I was going to tell you. I just didn't know how." She stood up slowly, her legs steady, even though her heart wasn't. "Do you love her?" she asked. Daniel opened his mouth, then closed it. The pause said everything. "I don't know," he finally said. Emily nodded. She felt something inside her tighten, not in pain, but in understanding. "Thank you for being honest," she said. Daniel looked shocked. "It's all you're going to say?" "For now," she replied. That night they slept in the same bed but miles apart. Daniel turned toward her once, reaching out in his sleep, his hand brushing her arm. Emily didn't move. She stared at the ceiling, her mind racing, her heart strangely calm. She wasn't angry yet. She wasn't crying. She was thinking. She thought about who she had been before the marriage. She thought about the years she had spent holding things together, fixing problems, smoothing over cracks. She realized how tired she was of being the strong one while someone else chose comfort. The next morning, Emily woke early and watched the sun rise through the window. She knew one thing. With perfect clarity, Daniel had confessed his affair, expecting tears, anger, or forgiveness. What he hadn't expected was her silence, her calm, and the quiet shift happening inside her. Because Emily wasn't breaking, she was waking up. Emily woke to the sound of the city outside, the river reflecting early sunlight. And for the first time in months, she felt a sense of control she hadn't known she was missing. Daniel was still asleep, unaware that her mind was racing with plans, possibilities, and decisions that could no longer wait. The revelation of his affair had shaken her world, but it had also opened her eyes to a truth she had ignored for far too long. She had been living for everyone else but herself. She got out of bed quietly, not wanting to disturb him, and brewed coffee in the small kitchen of their apartment. Everything felt lighter here, even though she had only just moved in a few days ago. The apartment was modest, with a view of the river glinting in the morning sun, but it was hers. Every step she took, every corner she looked at, reminded her that she had reclaimed something she had lost: her freedom, her choices, and most importantly, her self-respect at work. Emily wore a mask of calm professionalism. Her coworkers noticed a difference immediately. She was polite, composed, and efficient. But there was an unmistakable air of confidence around her that hadn't been there before. She answered emails, led meetings, and even smiled at passing colleagues. Nothing betrayed the turmoil she had endured at home. Inside, though, every action was deliberate. She was building a life that no longer depended on Daniel's whims, excuses, or betrayals. During lunch, she sat at a cafe near the office, her laptop open, researching legal options. She called a lawyer she had met years ago for advice, and by the end of the conversation, she had a clear understanding of her finances, her rights, and the best steps to secure her future. The debt she had paid, once a symbol of love and sacrifice, was now carefully documented. She knew exactly what she had given and what she could protect. Every detail was accounted for, and every decision was hers alone. When she returned home that evening, Daniel was waiting. He had sensed the shift. The moment she stepped inside, his eyes searched hers for a clue, sign that she was the same woman he had left in pain. He found none. Emily greeted him politely, but her warmth was measured. She no longer clung to the illusion that everything could be fixed with words alone. "You're acting like you've already left," Daniel said, his voice cracking. It was the first time he admitted his fear outright. Emily studied him carefully. "I have," she said softly, but firmly. The words landed like stones in a quiet pond. Daniel's face went pale. His hands trembled slightly, and for the first time, he seemed small. He tried to speak, stammering apologies and promises, insisting he had ended the affair, swearing that he wanted to fix what he had broken. But Emily listened without interrupting. She had heard enough promises in her life, and she knew that words alone could not undo betrayal. She didn't need to shout. She didn't need to cry. She needed action her own. "I paid your family's debt because I believed in us," she said, her voice gentle but firm. "Because I believed we were building a life together. But love isn't sacrifice without respect. And I've learned that respect must start with yourself." Tears streamed down Daniel's face, his desperation clear. He tried to reach out, but Emily held her hand back. She wasn't running. She wasn't reacting. She was choosing herself. And in that choice, there was power. There was freedom. Over the next few weeks, Emily focused on herself. She arranged her new apartment, took long walks along the river, and reconnected with friends she had neglected while giving herself fully to a marriage that had been unbalanced. Each day brought small victories: a morning coffee enjoyed without distraction, music playing while she cooked, laughter shared with friends. Each day reminded her that life could be joyful, independent, and whole, even after heartbreak. Daniel called frequently. Sometimes he pleaded. Sometimes he apologized. Sometimes he was angry. Emily listened, but she never returned the calls. She didn't need to justify her choices or explain her feelings to someone who had broken her trust. Instead, she wrote in her journal, meditated by the window overlooking the river, and allowed herself to feel fully, without guilt or compromise. Months passed, and the city shifted around her with the changing seasons. Emily found joy in small, quiet moments: the sunlight on the water, a friend's laughter, the smell of fresh coffee in the morning. She had learned that happiness didn't require permission. It didn't depend on anyone else's choices or mistakes. She had reclaimed it for herself, one crisp autumn evening. Emily received a message from Daniel. "I never thought you'd be strong enough to leave. I was wrong." She smiled. Not out of pride, but peace. She had already found strength, clarity, and dignity. She didn't seek revenge. She didn't need it. The real consequence of Daniel's betrayal was the life she had chosen for herself, life defined by courage, self-respect, and the freedom to love herself first. Emily never forgot the hurt, but it no longer controlled her. She didn't need to punish Daniel. She didn't need closure from him. She had her own closure, the quiet, powerful truth that she had chosen herself over betrayal, dignity over despair, and freedom over fear. Daniel had confessed, expecting tears, anger, or even forgiveness. What he didn't expect was Emily's calm, deliberate strength. She had walked away not broken, but whole. And in that wholeness, she discovered something more beautiful than she had ever known: herself. Life continued, simple yet full. She drank her morning coffee by the window, watched the leaves fall, and felt gratitude for the lessons she had learned. Emily Carter had paid a price once, yes, but she had gained something far greater: the courage to love herself, the clarity to see the truth, and the freedom to move forward, unshaken and unafraid. And for the first time in a long while, Emily smiled at the future, knowing that she had survived heartbreak, reclaimed her life, and discovered the quiet, enduring strength that had always been hers.